We had a nice gentleman named Phillip ask me a question at the gym after he commented about how freaking ripped I am. He hasn't seen nothing yet. Nothing. You wait until I slap on. Oh, by the way, I was like another pound and a half heavier, just water. But there's good water and bad water, and we're doing an experiment to see whether our red light chromophore can be built up. So if you take creatine like I'm doing, and then supercharge that creatine filled water inside your extracellular fluid with red light photons, which is actually what is the main generator for DC electric current. So red light comes out of the sky, that's 43% of the sunlight is red light, IRA heat light. It's absorbed by your extracellular fluid, and that creates a DC electric current that drives the final part of the electron transport chain. So basically you're charging yourself up to give yourself electron flow so that you can go and get ripped. Alright? And you gotta do it in a specific order. Infrared, A, then UVA, UVB. So I live in Toronto, there's no sunlight outside. I let myself wake up, I do my normal routine because I'm waking up with the sun. I'm not trying to force myself to do anything, by the way. You can't force yourself to. You got to develop slowly over time, one habit at a time. Right now, really, I'm working on making my bed. One thing at a time. And if you don't know this, millennials, people that were born anytime like 1970, we'll call it 1980 onwards, I'm like the prototype, right? I went and lived in my parents' basement once I started working out and I wanted to change. But I still spent an incredible amount of time outside until I got to high school. And then it was total fluorescent lights in that gym upstairs with the old global machines, and I just loved it. And I always wondered why I never made any good progress. Well now, Phillip, you understand why. Because you got to get outside, and Phil's a good guy because he got no technology. He already told me he had no technology. And very observant person. And you can tell he's got lots of dopamine going on still because he's not staring at these, and he doesn't have to worry about this. But once he comes to this gym and he starts wearing these, you watch what happens. No more belly, no more nothing. I'm talking about everybody, not him. He's actually pretty fit looking, tall, lean. He could be a runner, could be any kind of, he'd be like a long distance machine. Unlike me, I'm 5'9", average height of a North American male. And I like joking around that these gyms are made for me. Alright, you see? That's why I don't have to adjust much. I just put on the middle, 5. That's my setting on everything, 5, medium. And yeah, so that's it. Red light chromophore. That's your extracellular fluid, collects IRA light. Now there's lots of light therapies you can do, and I actually made a video for Dr. Cruz, and I was asking him, if I have a bright LED, red LED light, and I'm sticking it underneath my ear, is that actually good medicine for me? And I think the answer is going to be yes, because it certainly makes me feel good. And that ain't going to hurt you. So it's actually a really cool LED, because they don't put out piles of energy, but it's more like therapy, you know? It's just the extra little bit. So with that, look, you want to see what red light therapies can do? This is what he was talking to me for, because there's a lot of guys in here that look jacked, but there ain't none of them going like this. And he asked me what I'm doing, and I'm like, nothing. This is like me not even really working out. Right? You wait until I really start working out. If I actually start doing like some powerlifting training and stuff like that, but what I'll do is I'm going to go to each individual that I know specializes in that, and they're going to do it properly. Right? And there's a lot of people out there that may be good at something, but it doesn't mean that they're not one big bag of injuries, and I don't want any advice from those people. I want it from injury-free people that are high performance, because that's what they actually care about, is optimal performance, not just that big huge weight that they lifted. And by the way, I've got no injuries. The only thing is I have injuries from is doing crazy stuff when I was a kid, like jumping onto my tailbone onto a stump with a freaking, it was accidental on a snowboard. And then that forever changed my training, because it was also painful to train. I couldn't even walk barely. My parents had to come and pick me up one time walking with my friend in the snow. right after that because I was too stubborn. That was the first time I've ever incapacitated and I couldn't move. It was scary. And so I always had perfect leg development though, because then I didn't overtrain them. It was almost awesome. Because then I would have turned into like a Ben Pekulski or a Tom Platz or whatever. And there's only one Tom Platz. And he could have been Mr. Olympia, no problem, because it isn't about having all the same measurements of body parts. Thank you, Jim Morris. I understand now what you were saying. Don't worry about the Steve Reeves measurements. And Phil, sorry about this, but this is how it works. At 5:45, we're getting our jive, we're getting our groove on. It's about a tapestry you see. Now, and Chris Murray, he's actually the club manager here, and I want to tell him, this guy's amazing. His staff love him. You could all take a lesson from this guy. Okay? Come to Planet Fitness, Gerrard Square, check this out, because I'm going to be here making videos, and if I'm sitting on this machine, come and ask me a question. I'll answer it for you. And if I don't know the answer, I'll know someone that does. Right? But it's highly doubtful that I won't know the answer. And IRA light bed, I've already been to IRA and the UVB. Come and get ripped like me and use light therapy. Later, you millennials, I know you're watching, and I'm not talking to the adults anymore unless they're like Phillip, who obviously doesn't have a concrete brain and has lots of dopamine and doesn't have that same sorry refrain because his brain's in pain due to the dopamine drain. Out.